I said, I don't know what my life will look like at the end of this year, but I won't be here. At
Mhm.
December 31st, it's going to be my last day at this job. It's time for me to take control of my life. It's time for me to do it. And it's time for me to do it my way. I said, I have to leave.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ida as if a podcast experience. And thank you so much for your attention today. This is a podcast about life. And today I do have the honor to speak to the one and only Christen James. Christen is the host of the Shine to Five Method for Side Hustlers podcast. And she is a certified mindset coach. And I am so excited to meet you today, Christen. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat a little bit more with you and vibe with you. I know it's going to be a good conversation.
I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to go into your backstory. But the
Okay.
thing I'm excited to get into, which we can get into later on,
Okay.
was a few weeks ago, I was listening to you on the Soul Savvy Business podcast with Katie Valentine.
Yep.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and she asked you a question about abundance.
Mm.
And in explaining about abundance, she talked about the money story and the money mindset that people do have. And then you talked in it about how you record voice notes to yourself. And
I
you
think I
did
just
an
did one a few days
interesting one.
ago.
And you did an interesting one and you were talking to money. Please,
Mm-hmm.
let's dive into that before we go to your backstory. What's that about?
Okay. So I really believe that everything is energy. Abundance is energy, putting out the right kind of energy. So if you, and then like you mentioned our money story and our beliefs, and it hit me one day that I wasn't attracting, I had like a block, I guess you can call it a block. And I wasn't attracting the abundance that I felt like I deserved or I felt like I was ready for. And it was like I was telling money that I didn't want it around. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been sending the wrong message to money. I've been putting off the wrong energy to money. I have to apologize to money, right? Because I really feel like it's energy. And
Yeah.
once you know you're open to it, and we all have a money story. I've worked through mine. I'm still working through it, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a while to get there. So I did this voice note and I said, I just need to apologize to you. I am so sorry if I've been sending you the wrong message. Yes, I do want to have you around. I know I've been playing small and I know I haven't been taking up the space that I should be taking up and I haven't been, being open and free. And when I speak about abundance, I'm not speaking using the right energy and message towards you. And then you're thinking that I don't want you around, or if I have you around, I'm not going to spend you. I'm going to be too afraid to spend you. And that's not true. Went on and on in this voice note. And I like to leave voice notes because then I can listen back,
Yeah.
right? Just kind of remind myself when I'm having a moment again of like, do I need to, what's going on? What is that message I left for myself? I always leave. I name them Dear Whatever. So
Yeah.
that one's called Dear Money.
Mm-hmm.
I have one called Dear Christen. You know what I mean? So like Dear Christen is like a just me cheering myself on and saying you're an incredible person. You bring so much value. That's the kind of stuff you need to hear. And sometimes you just need to hear it in your own voice.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I just needed to hear it in my voice and really connect to the meaning and what I truly want it to mean for me and what I want abundance to mean for me and what abundance even looks like for me. It's not just about money, it's about just again energy and just having that flow and that freedom to just move and open yourself up to opportunities and attracting the right people and all of that. So I can go on and on and on, but I'm gonna stop. You can ask me another question.
Okay. Well, that was a great introduction into who you are, because you are a mindset coach. And so thinking about it in terms of like the money mindset that we all have our money stories, right? I grew up and I
Mm-hmm.
listened to you talking about you grew up with enough. I grew up with enough. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would sometimes feel guilty for doing certain things, but I got into the habit of buying myself a gift every
Mm-hmm.
Christmas from a very long time ago. I wouldn't spend money on anything, but once it gets to December, I'm like, okay, Ida, you got to spend something on yourself just
Love
because you
that.
want it.
I
And so
love
a
that.
really long time ago, I would go, even when I didn't need a camera, like how many years ago? 20 years ago, maybe?
Uh,
I just went and I bought a really expensive camera for myself just because I could buy it. And so I
Love it.
think that's a practice that I got myself to give gifts to myself in order
Yeah.
to, I don't know, I don't think I would use the word mindset at the time because I was too young to know what I was actually doing for myself at the time. I just knew I wanted something. And so I went out, I got it without having to justify to anybody why I want that. What was it like for you? When did you have that shift to be like, okay, I need to change my relationship with money?
Mine was a few years, probably around the same time I started my business, which would have been about 7 years ago or so. And again, I wasn't charging enough. I was afraid to ask for what I was worth. You know, that whole journey we go through, especially as new entrepreneurs. And I remember just growing up, like you mentioned, I had enough. And I did this exercise called you had to write a letter to money, but speak to it like your favorite animal. So I think I went with either an elephant or a dog because those are my favorite animals. And you had to apologize to money, kind of like the voice note I did, which is why I kind of got that idea. And but you talk to money as if it's a third person. And you say, I'm so sorry that I ever doubted you. I ever questioned how you felt about me. You always showed up on the right time for me. But then the other side of it, you had to write a letter in the voice of money talking to you,
Mm.
right? And just saying to money, I forgive you. I'm here for you. I want to be around you more. So in that moment and in doing that exercise, I realized, yes, I've always had enough. I did not want for anything growing up. I had a great childhood, but we always had enough. And then one day I'm like, why do I have to settle for enough? If
Yeah.
I'm talking about abundance, I deserve more than enough. So then I started to develop this mantra of I'm a magnet to success and I deserve more than enough. And that's when I started to have that shift of if we're going to talk about abundance, we really have to believe that we deserve it. We really have to work on our stories.
Yeah.
We all have stories from our upbringing, from just nurturing, being able to nurture our inner child and validate that inner child's feelings, right? So a lot of that is what I was doing and being able to tell my story my way. A lot of our stories were handed to us.
Yeah.
This is who you are. This is what you're supposed to do. Don't do this. Don't do that. Make sure you this. Make sure you're here. And then we get to a point where we're like, why do I believe this? Why is this happening? Why do I think this is true? So, and trying to retell your story, you're also saying that's where doubt starts to come in
Yeah.
and you start to doubt something and you're like why do I feel like I don't deserve this isn't true, and here's why it's not true, and here's how I can reframe my thinking so I can retell that story. And it's been an ongoing exercise or journey in just abundance and just being very mindful of the power of the tongue and our thoughts.
Yeah.
Thoughts become things. And when I still, of course, imposter syndrome, all that stuff will come up and I'll have that moment of like, what are you doing? No, no,
Yeah.
no. What are you doing? It's happening again. But I now am aware of being able to spend some time there. Where is this coming from? What triggered it? How do you want to feel? What do you need to do to feel there, to get there and to feel that way, and to then be able to take the next step so you can show up as the true version of yourself in life and in your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
Yes.
so when I look at your business, so your business is a Shine to Five solutions.
That Shine to Five is my brand.
Yeah.
So I'm a side hustler coach. So the
Yes.
podcast is the Shine to Five method for side hustlers. So it's all like tips and action items and guest experts sharing their stories. But so I also say as a side hustler coach, I'm working with, it's predominantly women side hustlers, to empower them to strategically and confidently quit the 9 to 5. So I tie in my experience and my training as the life skills coach, as a mindset coach, a background in psych, because a lot of it is mindset.
Yeah.
And if we have that employee mindset, if a lot of us were told, again, our stories, you go to school, you get the education, you get the better education, you go, you get the job, you get the promotion.
Yeah.
And so we have that employee, we know how to be employees and really
Yeah.
good ones. A lot of times we don't have the tools to be entrepreneurs. We don't know where to start with being an entrepreneur. So I help my clients to basically build that muscle, if you will, of entrepreneurship. They deal with a lot of fear, a lot of fear of failure and uncertainty, lack of support in some
Yeah.
cases. So, and then being able to address the mindset, and also remembering that there's a human behind the business. So
Yes.
before you do anything else, before you show up anywhere else, how are you feeling? I start and end every conversation with a client. How are you feeling? Because I think that is truly, truly important, because how we feel impacts what we think and ultimately what we'll do and how we'll
Yeah.
show up in our life and business. So I love to go on that journey, if you will, with them from having a boss to being a boss.
Yeah. And so until a few years ago, I think a year or two ago, I had never heard the word Reiki.
Ah.
And yeah. And then in because I'm part of an entrepreneurial community and a lot of entrepreneurs in it, and somebody came there and said, "Oh, I'm a Reiki master." I'm like, "What is that?" And I know you are a you are
Yeah.
a Reiki master or
Master, yep,
instructor.
yep.
You're a master. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Reiki master, yeah.
What is Reiki, and how do you incorporate that in helping the women identified entrepreneurs that you work with?
Reiki is basically, it's energy healing. It's as a Reiki master or Reiki practitioner, however you want to term it, I'm a vessel or a conduit, and I'm helping the person. They have all the energy within them, but I'm helping them to let that energy flow. We work through the chakras. Sometimes our different chakras might be blocked. If you, for example, if you find you are having a hard time saying how you feel, you're having a hard time communicating, it might mean your throat chakra is blocked, and Reiki can help to open that so you can communicate better. And communicate, the interesting thing is, communicating doesn't have to just be me telling Ida how I feel. You can
Yeah.
journal, right? You can sing, you can dance, any way you can really be able to express yourself. But through Reiki, it's just really helping the energy to flow. And it's all about placement of your hands on the certain parts of the body and really channeling that energy. I'm not transferring, there's no transfer of energy. It's really just helping the person to get the energy to flow. It helps. I fell in love with it because it's helped me a lot mentally and emotionally. It has helped people physically once they really start to practice Reiki and get the Reiki healing. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I've been really happy to now incorporate that into, yes, I have a Reiki business, but also tying it into my coaching. I found it has made me a lot more intuitive when I'm connecting with my clients. And if I find that they're not saying something, or they might not be able to work on a certain goal, we'll work through channeling that energy and letting that energy flow. And because it's all energy, it can be done via distance. It can be done via Zoom. It doesn't have to be in person. And that is also the other beautiful thing. It's through time and space, and it's all energy and energy flow. You just try it, girl.
Yeah. I would want to try it eventually. Maybe we're going to do it within this session and you
Yes,
do.
yes. When you're ready, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. But I also heard you talk about growing up. You, as a child, you grew up Catholic, right? Your mom was Catholic. Your dad was Anglican, I think.
Yes. You
Yes.
really listen to that episode. I
Oh,
love
of
it.
course I did. Oh,
Yeah.
look at it. I listened to this. They sent it to me when I was on vacation and I could not access it from the country where I was at. Spotify's blog. There's like, okay, but when I got here, first thing I listened to was like, I need to talk to her. I want to
Oh, I
talk to her. I want
love
to get to
that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I grew up Catholic just like you. My mom and dad were both Catholic. My mom pretty much we go to she's gone to church every single day of my life that I know. She's been to church
Yeah.
unless there's something super, super disturbing that she couldn't make it to church. But like it's almost a taboo to not go. But just like
Right.
you, I have evolved in how I connect spiritually. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily identify with a religion, so to speak, but I know I am more spiritual right now than I've
Yeah.
ever been in my lifetime. So I'm thinking about with that Catholic mindset and with the mindset of like my background, like I said, I grew up Catholic and born and raised in Africa. And then there's that religion side of things. But now switching into spirituality and everything else around it, how do you reconcile those elements with the story that you know within of this is how it should be Like, this is how I grew up, but
yeah.
I know that this is how it's supposed to be, or the other. Like, do you get what I'm saying? It's,
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I do, because
because
I was,
sometimes when I say to somebody, let me just, sometimes when I say to somebody, yes, I grew up Catholic, but I don't identify as religious. I identify as spiritual. It's like,
I'm the same way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So help me find the words to be able to explain that to somebody as someone who's been in that exact same shoe.
Yeah, because you know what? I think of like religion as like the institution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, being Catholic, and there's that religion, and there's certain practices, and you know, you go to church, and there's, you know, the different accomplishments, if you will, within the religion. I think that's the institution. But I think behind all of that, at the core of everything, it's about God,
Yes.
or whoever the higher power is, whatever the person's religion is, belief system is. It really is about your relationship with that higher power, right? And for even when I got into adulthood, I still went to church, but I went to church just because, you know, it was something, it was there. I can go like hang out, say, hey
Yeah.
God, like I'm here, had a good week, but you know, I pray every day. But I felt like even without that, God is in me. God is everywhere. God is flowing. It doesn't take away from any type of belief. I don't disparage anything or anybody's beliefs or practices. But I just know, for me, at the core of everything, all I needed to know was I had something or someone to turn to, and to believe in, and to talk to when you pray, and you're going through a really difficult time. To me, like, going to church didn't make a difference, because I could
Yeah.
still get down on my knees and pray, or I could still be sitting in my living room or sitting in my car and have a conversation with God, and know that there are certain things that happen in our lives, and I'm sure you can attest to this, certain things that happen, and you're like, that's God working.
Yes.
You know, you want something, and like it's not coming together, and you're like, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. This isn't meant for me, or it's gonna come at a different time. And things work out when God feels like they're good, you know, good and ready for them to work out. Is in God's timing.
Yeah.
But just as long as I'm being the best version of myself, and I show up as the best version of myself, and I feel like really being connected with myself means I'm connected with God, because God is in me, right? And
Yeah.
spirituality, and that's, to me, that's what it means. It doesn't matter what religion people are. To me, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what religion people are. I respect religions and people that, practice whatever their practices are. But I just needed to know, I had a very personal connection
Mm-hmm.
with God, and this being that is God, and talking with it. So I think of religion, yeah, like it's just, I'm Catholic, it's the institution, but then, the main ingredient
It's a
is the,
spirituality, right? It's
yeah, your
God.
spirituality and your relationship with God. It's all about God, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I try to explain it to people when I think about religion.
Yeah.
It sounds formal. Where spirituality is like, you can take it in any direction you want to take it, how it feels for
Yeah.
you. If it feels right for you, then hey, let's do it.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
intuition is right there, right? And as you're
Mhm.
talking about that, it brings back to another story that I heard you talk about, which is, and it's about knowing, when it's time for you to move on to something. I want to go
Mhm.
into your own entrepreneurial journey, where you talked about you think you kind of manifested being
Yeah, I'm
fired.
sure I absolutely did. I
So
did.
with your story in mind, I want you to share your story, but with your story in mind, it's thinking about the people who are currently at that place right now, who
Mm.
have this desire to leave their 9 to 5 to come out and shine, in your words, but they are
Mhm.
stuck, they are scared. Share your story and share how that hopefully that would inspire somebody who is in that place right now to be like, you know what?
Yeah,
If she could do that, I can do it too.
absolutely. And I was there. Like, I always, a part of my story is also, I was at my 9 to 5, 5 years longer than I wanted to be, because I didn't know.
Mhm.
All I knew was to be an employee. I didn't think about hiring a coach. I had tried different side hustles, which is why I like to focus on side hustles, and making them successful. I tried different things. I was just It was at one point, it was like, it just seemed like I was throwing stuff against the wall to see what would stick.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't feeling fulfilled at my 9 to 5. And it just got to a point where in my life, I felt like I was always very high achieving too. I'm sure you can relate to this. And I would always write
Yeah.
goals down. I want to get this done in 5 years and and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point in my life where I was like, I'm really like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to move on. It's time. And I started to tell people that. I said, I don't know what my life will look like at the end of this year, but I won't be here. At December 31st, it's going to be my last day at this job. It's time for me to take control of my life. It's time for me because I always knew I wanted to be a coach. It was like one of my favorite things about my role. So it's time for me to do it, and it's time for me to do it my way. I said, I have to leave. And then for me, once something gets in my head, it's like almost like I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
This has to happen. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but it has to happen. And then one day, a friend of mine said, "Wouldn't it be great if you got laid off and then you can get your package?" And I'm like, "Oh, that would be amazing!" Because I had been with the company 12 years, so I would have gotten a year's, because you get a year, a month's worth of salary each year, right? So I would have gotten a year's worth of salary. I'm like, I'd be set up. I can go back to school. I'd be able to do this. I want to get laid off.
You totally manifested that one.
I manifested it. I reached out to a former coworker who she later became my coach. She had left the year before, and I saw on LinkedIn that she was now a coach. I said, you know what? I'm going to send her a message. I said, I need to find out from her how she did it. Yeah. And I sent her a message. We jumped on Skype, I think, when Skype was still a thing. Yeah. And we had a great convo. I said, yeah, I really want to do this year. I want to figure this shit. Yeah, you can do this. Let me know, blah, blah, blah. And it just so happened, like, I think it was maybe a month later that they made the announcement after having the chat with her. They made the announcement that they were closing the department. And I said, I was sitting there like, yes. This is happening. Everybody's visibly upset. They just told a room full of people, there were dozens of us in the room, that we were losing our jobs in 60 days. So people were upset. And I'm sitting there like, holy crap. Yeah. This is exactly what I want. Yes. So in that moment, I truly believed in the law of attraction. But the thing is, you have to believe it. You have to believe. It's not just saying, oh, I want to get laid off. I'm going to win $1 million and it's going to show up. You got to do things. Yeah. And you got to put that energy out into the universe to say, I'm truly, truly ready for this. I'm ready for this. I'm meant to do this. I can see myself doing nothing else. If you believe it at your core, of course, it will absolutely happen. But you have to believe. You have to believe yourself when you say you believe in yourself. Like, you're not just using the words. It's actually something that you've connected to the meaning of it. And I knew that year, I was so ready. I was so done. And I was ready to do this. And the universe was like, okay.
You're ready.
Okay, yeah, she's ready. Let's help her out. Right? Yeah. I love sharing that story. Thank you for asking.
Wow, that's powerful. There's a lady who's also certified mindset coach that's actually a part of my community, and she's actually given her notice as well to her job. She's like,
I love it.
I'm leaving at the end of December 31st, same date as you. I'm leaving my job. And just by setting that in motion, when I look at her every single day, I'm like, girl, you're doing it. The move she's able to make, but because you've taken away that baggage, right? You've taken away the not the baggage per se, but she's taken away the anchor. Like, oh, I have something to hang on to. No, it's not there anymore. When you make that move, but that's not a move that a lot of people can make, right? What is something that you would tell a person who's there? Like, what things do they have to set in motion to get ready to take the side hustle into a full-time hustle?
First of all, it is absolutely mindset, but just letting them know, first of all, validating their feelings and what they're feeling. They usually feel very alone in what they're feeling. And I'm like, you're not alone. Like, let's work on this together. But it's also being able to see, because the one word that always comes up is control. Yeah. I want to be in control of my time. I want to be able to have my own thing. I said, okay, what does that look like? How long does it take to get there? Or even like asking the miracle question of like, if you go to bed like tonight and you wake up tomorrow morning and a miracle has happened and you have the life, you are the full-time boss and you're in control of your time and you're doing this and that and the other, what happened overnight? What was the miracle that happened? I was like, well, I guess I did this in my side hustle and I had to make sure I did so and so. And I had to make sure I was clear on my messaging and I knew who my ideal client was and I knew where to connect with them. And I knew that they're waiting to hear my story and they're waiting for me to serve them. And we start to reverse engineer. I said,
Wow.
okay, you need to find your ideal client. Let's talk about who your ideal client is. And let's describe them to me, right? Not just like the how much they make and what they look like, but like
Yeah.
how did they find you? What's the problem they have? What's the solution you offer? How are you going to show the transformation in their lives? Why you? What's your competitive advantage? Why would they pick you out of everyone else? And then just and everything that they kind of mentioned, we pull that as a piece of something that we work on together. So it starts with some reverse engineering, but mainly just giving them the space and giving them the permission, because a lot of times they feel guilty. I know I dealt with this at my 9 to 5 too, because
Mhm.
again, we're good employees and we feel like, they need us, and I can't leave them hanging. Like
Yeah.
I'm the one that did this and I'm the one that trains. We will
Yeah.
replace you.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Sleep.
something we don't think would easily happen, but you're very replaceable
Will.
at work.
Yes, it will. If they will make the decision, if you decide to leave tomorrow, they're like, all right, we got the business has to keep running. So let's find someone else to do this job. And that's what it comes down to. Right. So in telling them, don't feel like let's talk about that guilt you're feeling, because a lot of times it's just they're people pleasers. They're
Yeah.
not used to saying no or standing up for themselves. Okay, what does standing up for yourself look like? What does setting boundaries look like? We talk about boundaries. We talk about your values. We talk about your business vision and your mission before we even start talking about setting goals. We go through all of that first to get them to the point. So again, it's like they have their own toolkit and they're filling with all the right tools so they've become more confident to as an entrepreneur. And then once they start to become more confident as an entrepreneur, they actually see that they can supplement the income that they'll be leaving behind in their 9 to 5, that they say, I can actually do this. But like
Yeah.
you said, like once you make that decision and they say this has to work, and you commit to it and you show up consistently and you work on your confidence, you will get there. But the consistency is key. And they do struggle with consistency because, again, the 9 to 5 might be challenging or demanding, and they're burning the midnight oil at the 9 to 5, and they're burnt out because they don't have time, because their 9 to 5 is doing this and 9 to 5 is doing that. But as soon as they, for example, decide to work with me and say,
Yeah.
okay, we're meeting this day at this time, and they show up for that day and that time. So then I say, well, see, you can commit to it. You're showing up. You're
Yes.
showing up for your business. I thought you burned the midnight oil. I thought your 9 to 5 takes all the time. CJ, I really want this to happen. And I just realized I need somebody to hold me accountable. And I know somebody to support me. Clarity, support, and accountability are the 3 things that come up the most. They need clarity in what to do in their side hustle, the direction they want to take it in. They need some support, of course, getting there, but being held accountable is really key in it. So knowing someone's showing up for me, and if I told them I'm going to be doing this by this date and this time, I have to do it. Or they
Yeah.
feel like they have to do, because now they've committed. But then it's that shift starts to happen because they've made the commitment to being consistent. And if you don't show up, hey, that's not on me. That's all on you, honey.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm here to support you. If you're here ready to make the change, you're ready to make that transition, you're ready to see this through, I can support you. But if all you're going to do is make excuses and not efforts, then maybe you're not ready. And that's okay too. That's
Yeah.
absolutely okay.
Yeah. I love something that Les Brown said. He said, when you say but it's just an excuse for your limitations. And when you make excuses for
Yeah.
those limitations, you get to keep them. So do
Yeah.
you want to keep the limitations, or do you want to walk through and get rid of them so you can get to the other side, right?
Exactly. I love Les Brown, by the way. I just love listening to him. I call him Uncle Les.
He has a
I
legendary
love
laughter.
listening.
Like,
So yeah.
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
He really, really is. But it's true. It is absolutely true. It's either you make the effort or you make the excuse.
Yeah.
And some people don't like to hear me say this, but I say if you say you want something, go after it. Try to get it. If you don't get it, if you don't do anything, you didn't want it. Life is a series of choices.
Yeah.
Whether you do, as we know, whether you do or you don't, you have made a choice. So
Yes.
you're making those, when you're making those excuses, you're making a choice. I can't. Oh, my job's too busy. I can't. Okay. I'm not telling you the remaining hours of the week, your free time, all of it should go into your side hustle. But can you commit half an hour? Can you commit an hour? What about on the weekends? What about every other Thursday? Something where you show up consistently without making the excuses. Make the effort or you make the excuse. How
Yeah.
badly do you want it? And I know for me, when I manifested my layoff, I really wanted this badly enough. And I had started to do other things. I started to work on different side hustles I mentioned. And
Yeah.
I was already working on like leveraging. I love talking about leveraging in 9 to 5. While you're there, I was building my networking skills. I was going to the events and I was connecting with whomever and seeing who knows what and what I could learn from other people in other departments. I was treating it as like whatever skills I can take away from it that I can use in my business. Right.
Yeah.
So you make that decision. If it doesn't happen, you didn't want it.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
that's it doesn't, it's not about how long it takes, is whether you get that thing or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that then because it takes long to see results for all the effort you're putting in, a lot of people give up because they think it's not working, but it's just about you have to be consistent. It will take time,
Yeah,
but you have to be
absolutely.
consistent and you have to get the support and the accountability that you need. And that's what people get by working with a person like you, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You just need someone in your corner. I like to use this analogy. Picture the two of us at the entrance to a room and there's just paper everywhere. And they're like, you go to me, CJ, oh my God, like what? I don't know where to start. And you're seeing like there's a shelf on the other side of the room. And I said, okay, just pick up a piece of paper. Just pick up one piece of paper and start a pile. You pick up another piece and you start another pile. And you're organizing things and you're getting through it. Basically, my point or my message is you have everything you need. I am just there to help you sort through your thoughts, to help you feel a little bit, to validate your feelings, to help you feel more confident. But you already have, it's just everything's just scattered. And we just need to take some time organizing it, prioritizing, see what needs to happen now, see what's a shiny object, where you can find inspiration, where you can generate income. But you already have everything.
Yeah.
Everything's already in you.
Yeah. Wow, awesome. One thing that I know that a lot of businesses ignore, because I'm an accountant and I work with entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
to get clarity around their accounting and their bookkeeping and their taxes, right?
Oh,
And one
yeah.
thing that I notice for a lot of people is they ignore that until the government comes knocking on your door like, hey, Ida, I had to do taxes, I had to do this, I had to do that. What is it that you have noticed among your clients when it comes to this particular element of have like them figuring out, okay, now it's not just about doing the side hustle, but there are other responsibilities that come with that, including taking care of my taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I do say to them, because I went through this too. It's because, that's why they're the experts like you. Because the rest of us are like, what? I say you got to know your numbers. Again, coming back from having an employee mindset, your salaries given told to you and how much ever your benefits or your raise will be. Everything's, everything because it's been
Yeah.
given to you.
Yeah.
But now you got to know your numbers. You got to be able to track things. You got to be able to know what you're spending, how much you're spending, why you're spending it, budgeting. And people don't like doing that, which is why they hire Ida. Right? Some people don't like doing that. But in the early stages of being a solopreneur, we create like an Excel sheet or something really simple where they can just be able to track their numbers. Okay, you want to generate this much income? What do you got to spend to get there? What's your budget in order? Like, where are you putting this money in order to earn it? And also helping them understand to earn an income, you might have to spend a little bit. It's not just
Yeah.
the money just not just going to come to you like that. You're going to see a return on your investment. but know your numbers from the very beginning and how just get familiar with the language and just tracking things. And if you realize it is not your zone of genius, you hire an expert because
Yeah.
it long run, it's gonna, like, it's gonna catch up to you. So before it does, just have somebody else do it that understands or can explain it to you. Don't try to figure it out on your own if you realize you cannot figure it out on your own. Right?
And
That's
don't wait
exactly
until
it.
the last minute to do that, right? Because now it's like,
Right.
oh, I need to find an accountant. No, you won't find anybody when it's the last minute. All right. All right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. So shine to five.
Mm-hmm.
Shine, there's an acronym for that. So if you
Yes.
can just give us what that acronym is, how you came about that, and then what the method is in shine to five
So
method.
because I help 9 to 5 women to shine. It's just, I love a play on words. I love puns and just little witty things like that. And I was just one day, I was like, shine to 5, 9 to 5. I help them shine to 5. Shine is 5 letters, and it just all started to kind of ripple. So that was originally just the name of my podcast, the Shine to 5 Method, and from there I created my coaching system. And I said, oh, everything that I do, I have a certain way of doing it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a part of the Shine to 5 method. So I trademarked Shine to 5, and everything that I do is under the Shine to 5 method. So the things like I mentioned to you, like when I'm helping my clients to reverse engineer when they know what their miracle is, it's all a part of the Shine to 5 method. Goal setting is not until like one of the 7th things we do after everything. We look at the 12 areas of your life, and self and care is area 1, and business is area number 12. Everything else should come before business. Understanding your boundaries, your values, looking at your 2 worlds, and how you can leverage your 9 to 5 to benefit your side hustle so you can turn that into a thriving business. I all that now under the Shine to 5 method. And shine means simplify how to implement a new ending. And then we
Wow.
just define, yeah, and it's simplifying everything, adjusting your mindset, and coming up with your own method to being a boss, being your own boss for that matter.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Well, we want to get some final nuggets from you, Christen. So CJ, of course, CJ, because I'm
Yeah,
your pal
yeah.
right now. So final words of wisdom for the audience, especially a woman identified entrepreneur who might be listening to this right now and be like, hey, I like CJ. I want to work with her. Or what can she tell me right now to kick me in the butt so I can move on to the next stage and then I could actually start doing what I need to do?
Yeah, there were a lot of really great nuggets. It was a great convo. I knew it would be. And it's if you want to be in control, like look at what control means to you. If you want to be in control of your time, and think about defining your success. I want to ask, if you're listening right now, what does success look like and feel like for you? Guaranteed the answer is going to be, I want to have my own thing. I want to be in control of my time. Okay. What does that look like to be in control of your time? How are you going to get there? And what are you going to do to get there? Because if you don't do anything, you're making a choice that you didn't want it. If you're saying you want it, it's okay if it takes 3 months or 3 years. It's okay, as long as it's your journey. Do not compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Don't get caught up in the noise in the online world, and people making things look easy, and this happened overnight. It's often not true.
Yeah.
A lot is definitely glamorized. But define success for yourself. Nurture your inner child. Nurture the 6-year-old version of you. Validate their feelings. And then once you validate their feelings and you start to retell your story and you're defining your success, follow through on taking little steps. And little steps can be making a decision to commit. Little steps can be, okay, I'm going to book that call with CJ. A 15-minute conversation with CJ. I'm going to do it and see what she says, and we take things from there. All those, even when somebody does that, I'm like, kudos to you for doing that, because most people don't. You don't ever. Right? So define, what does success look like for you? Define success for yourself and then follow through on it. That's the nugget I will leave it with.
That is beautiful. And if there's anybody who wanted to contact you, CJ, what's the best way to reach you?
My website is christennjames.com, 2 N's, CHRISTENN James.com, or I'm on Instagram. You can slide in my DMs, I always say, at Christen N. James. And it's just a 15-minute chat. I have a couple freebies if you want to jump on those as well. One of them is a conversation with money, that money exercise I like to take clients through. Have fun with it. But if you have any question, you want to tell me about your side hustle, come find me, or check out the podcast, the Shine at 5 Method for Side Hustlers podcast. I share a lot on there too. And let's take control of your life if that's what you want to do.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, CJ. It's been an absolute honor having you here on the podcast. I definitely look forward to connecting with you again in the future on other things. And that Reiki session, we're definitely going to do that because I want to.
Please, yes, we can do it over Zoom. It'll be just
Yeah.
as powerful when you're ready.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to take too much of your time right now, but how long does it take though? How long is a Reiki session? It's an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is there
People
like
fall
a
asleep,
little?
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Really?
You'll see. Try me out. You'll see.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy this episode, please check out another episode and please go ahead and share it with somebody who might find value in it today.